After searching for a new life in the countryside down south, we returned to Aberdeen with a lot to process. Apart from the freezing winter winds, it was a nice place to recuperate in the historic village of Fitty, now part of Aberdeen's coast. It was a bit like a Dickens novel, especially in the snow. After considering it for a few months, our offer for a plot in Aberdeenshire went through. It was accepted. A short-term high, but the amount of work ahead became much more real for us. On this channel, you'll find out just how real. But the outside looks much better than the inside, which you'll get to see a preview of later in this video. But it's not all gloom. We just fell in love with the location. One of the main reasons we went for it was the nice community around, where there were really supportive people, many of whom have done their own renovations of old buildings and know how difficult it is. The location is like a country escape, with a short drive, 20-minute drive to the near city, Aberdeen. It also has a cycle path and just a countryside vibe with cows and rolling hills and horses. At the start of the year we were recuperating though in Fitty as my partner Gergo settled into his new job, and after a welcome respite, after a long career search since lockdown, I continued my own online businesses but suffered a cat allergy at my friend's house when we rented a room there. But by springtime it was time for a change. We returned to the horsebox, which was sadly staying next to the beach for over half a year and weathered by the salty air after travelling from one corner of the UK and back. The sun was out and the horsebox was ready to come to its new home. See how happy I am and how happy the horsebox is. This was actually a tense moment. We were pretty nervous about whether it would actually take off, because when we tried to embark to Devon, it had actually broken down, because that can happen if it's not used often enough. And it had been here for over half a year at the beach. But here it is, going strong through the countryside to our little community in Aberdeenshire. We're just rolling up to it just now. You can see the neighbouring properties, mostly stone cottages, and some of them have been renovated themselves. This is an old mill you can see to the right. It dates to 1860. We think the cottage was built around the same time, that this was actually one area where there was a mill and there were a ton of springs and wells. We looked at old historic maps and found that it doesn't date to the 1700s, but it might be a little bit earlier than 1860. We've got a little dog park on the right here, which is quite nice. It's run by one of the neighbours. And you can also see the adjacent property, which is a former business. We were interested to buy it, but it would have been too much of a financial risk in addition to this plot, as money could be used to get started on rebuilding and renovating. Oh, and obviously landscaping the plot itself. But luckily it's actually divided into two. So where we're driving just now, this is a separate plot, which I'm planning to make into a glamping spot with the horsebox. Finally, the horsebox has found its new home since we got it in lockdown. And with quite a nice view. As soon as we arrived, it was time for a new start. And for the work to start. Gimli, our dog, had arrived with my dad, but there was just one problem. He couldn't get into the horse box. So the work had started to make some steps, because in the cottage there were some old worn out steps that could have once been an important part of this interior. We're all about reusing materials on this project, so we cut it in half. But it wouldn't be that simple. It was really heavy. We carried it on the trailer, which by the way was broken shortly after we bought it on Gumtree. So always be careful about things you buy on Gumtree, they're second hand. There was a lot of cutting, a lot of squeaking going on here, so I reduced the volume to protect your ears because I personally can't stand the sound of squeaking myself. And now, time for the honours. Will the stairs fit? Let's find out. Oh.
Is that sturdy?
A bit wobbly. We found out it was the wrong height. That the headboard above the door is just too low. Might have been okay if we were in medieval times and we were a lot shorter, but this isn't medieval times. Although I am getting back to basics by hammering. I am trying to make the steps more sturdy here. This was shortly after cutting more at the top so that it was better aligned for entering the horsebox. Now to test the final product. It was a smooth entry, and the first time the horsebox has had its own steps. Gimli was very pleased, and he very quickly made himself at home.
Come on, sofa.
He enjoyed looking around, reminiscing his puppy days as he was brought up here when he was really little. Now it's time to show you our garden, which is actually a substantial size, just under an acre, including the other plot. This is our building storage corner for now until we make the workshop. We have boards on the doors to protect it. Now it's time to show you inside the cottage. So as you can see, there's actually no floor. It's been dug out previously from previous renovation work. This has left it exposed. There's been a lot of damp coming through. The walls have crumbled. Luckily, the first floor is pretty good condition, so there's no need to replace that. The roof is sturdy, made of tile, but the walls, that's another story.
This one is strong and it's that it's not falling apart.
Oh, the top one.
Yes, and yeah, so this is stronger.
Since then, we have managed to get the walls repointed with lime plaster, which is more breathable for this kind of building made of granite. Cement actually traps moisture, which you don't want, as it can affect the structural integrity of the building. As you can see here, there's been a lot of rockfall and weathering out of the matrix in between the rocks. As you can see, the left side of the wall is the worst. This has since been restructured with a little bit of cement just for strength, and the rest is going to be with lime. Sorry, did I say cement? I meant concrete, and they're definitely different things. Actually, I talked to the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings, who've been so helpful, and they really try to deter people from concrete most of the time, even for the base of the floor. In our case, we do need concrete for the base in order to do underpinning at the same time as in filling the base of the floor, so we can do something called side pinning, which is a little bit less invasive for the walls. But now the walls are reinforced a little with the concrete and the lime plaster. This might be small progress, but it feels like a big deal for us. It's a big weight off the mind knowing that the structure is not likely to collapse over the next winter. Thank you for watching and being one of the first to watch our videos, and an early supporter. Would really appreciate if you could subscribe so you can find out more. And to find out in our next video why on earth we are drilling into the ground, stay tuned.
For a new home. Where are you going?
Not naturally.